Today, how you start your morning isn't just a routine, it's the blueprint for success. Hey, let's talk about it. Today, Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. Boom! Good morning! Welcome to Mornings in the Lab. We start the weekly loop where we break down what it takes to dominate the day, take those bold risks, and hold yourself accountable to your biggest goals. Hey, I'm that host. I'm Keith Bellison. Before we jump into it, here's a quick heads up. You know how we go here in the lab. We like to drop the content that might make the kids squirm. Or it might increase the value of the tip jar. So I encourage you to take the kids out of the room, put the headphones on, but just know we might drop some salty language that might offend some young souls in the lab this morning. So just a heads up for that. Today, we're mastering the morning. That's what we do here on the show. We master mornings today, the blueprint for success. We have a guy, Kyle Harris. Yeah, Kyle Thomas. That's who's here. Macklemore joining us. We're diving deep into how small intentional shifts in your morning can create that unstoppable moments. Here with me in the lab this morning, CMarty Fit, Christopher Martin, a dude, John Anderson, of course, producer Christina Flynn, and that guy, producer Jimmy on the buttons out there in the Philippines. The water's subsided, the winds are down, and life, I think, is slowly getting back to normal for our friends over there in the Philippines. Hey, killer lineup today. As I said, Macklemore's joining us here today. Kyle Thomas joining us. He knows a thing or two about turning morning routines into launch pads for peak performance. Listen, the guy was Uber's 250th employee. Think about that. Yeah, not one, not the 5,000th. He might have been hanging out with TK for a while. Who knows? Yeah, we might have to ask him some questions about that dude. He's now helping ambitious job seekers land dream startup roles and crushing career goals. Here's what's coming your way today, guys. We got the morning loop coming up in a few moments. I got something to reveal. I think I lost an hour this weekend, and I just don't know where it fucking went, actually. And I got some humor. Johnny's not going to know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to that, but I think Marty and Christina are going to roll their eyes at me. But I'm telling you, I found an hour, lost an hour, but there's an hour somewhere in my life here that I'm trying to find it. We got Thomas joining us for Center Stage, and he's sticking around for Deep Dive. After that, we got Jory Jansen joining us to talk about intermittent fasting and how that can empower your morning. Of course, in hour two, yes, that's what's showing up in hour two. Morning two is Reloaded, followed by In the Gym with John and Marty. We're going to talk about the 10 most important principles of building muscle in the gym. Marty's going to lead that conversation with Johnny. And then we got the Creator Spotlight in the Community Corner, of course, business and branding with myself and Flinner. But before we do that, I'm going to pivot to there. We're going to bring the crew on stage. Jimmy, we're going to see what everybody's wearing today. Whoa. Marty's got the, I think it's like a green, yellow, less brunches, more crunches.
Green.
I like that. That's a good color, man. I dig that one.
Thanks, and we got fashion advice from our friend John Anderson, offering up the color palettes for this morning of Johnny Anderson. Of course, John's wearing his nice black fuck average cleavage shirt with the red.
There it goes. Where?
Of course, Tina's crushed black on black with the statement Ed and white AirPods, and I have adopted the black on black uniform with the black hat and got some cool glasses on today. That's what we're rocking today. Guys, how is the weekend loop going on? I got some funny shit to share with you guys, but what's going on? How are you guys today?
Good.
Pretty good, man.
Good.
Killer. Up and crushing, man. But I'm so in tune with my circadian rhythm. I'm waking up long before my alarm. I was up at 2:40 today. I'm like, it's time to go, baby. It's time to go.
I've literally known no one to brag about being so in tune with their circadian rhythm. That's the first time I've ever heard anyone brag about that.
That's awesome. Is what that is.
It's a work to get that son of a bitch dialed in. You don't just say, hey, circadian rhythm, get in place so I can wake up before my alarm. It takes some fucking work to get
Don't
that.
I know it?
Get that in there.
No, you just don't say it. Good morning, good time. We see you there in the comments. Good to see you here this morning. Marty Flinner, I had a meeting with Johnny yesterday. We had a catch up, and I was telling Johnny that, yeah, man, I said, fuck, I feel great today. got an extra hour of my day. I got up early. I went to bed early last night, crushed the extra hour. And he's looking at me
What
like,
the fuck are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about?
He goes like, my phone's just changed naturally. So I'm going through my whole day as life is normal. And then Lauren comes home she had some shit to do yesterday morning. And she goes, Keith, I got this note from Catechism of Brookyosa School. And they're like, daylight savings is next weekend. I go, no, it just happened this weekend. She goes, no, it's actually next weekend. Come on. Marty, Tina, Johnny, since Friday, I have been living on daylight savings time. I actually have thought it was so I went to bed an hour early Friday. I stayed up an hour later Saturday night. I got up yesterday thinking that the whole world had moved an hour. So Johnny, you have had a very distinct influence on me because I've lost the concept largely of time. I didn't know whether it was 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I got up yesterday morning at fucking 3 o'clock because I thought
perfect.
It was.
And here's the thing. We'll use this little segment as a perfect example. Why the fuck did humans being waste so much fucking time about plus or minus an hour? Jesus Christ, put that energy into something that means something rather than, and because the crazy part is most people are sitting around bitching, oh my God, I lost an hour. Here's a crazy statistic. Whatever it is, I don't know when the fuck, whatever we lose an hour, whenever that is, there are more fucking heart attacks the next morning in the ER than ever before. That day, there are more fucking cardiac arrests because we're so fucking unhealthy. 1 hour loss of sleep and people are fucking croaking. That's sad or what?
I'll tell you, I feel awesome because I had less. I was so mentally set on attacking the daylight savings. I was so mentally set on getting I was so on point, Johnny. I'm like, okay, I got up early yesterday. I started my day yesterday. I'm like, holy fuck, I'm an hour ahead of the world. And then I learned.
How does that practically work? Did you have to reset your phones and shit? What did you do?
Oh, because as Johnny said, Marty, Tina, that our phones just automatically reset themselves. So I got up yesterday morning thinking that everything just reset itself. Like literally my whole day yesterday, I was an hour off the rest of the world because I was convinced that we had dropped back an hour. Yeah. Well done. Man, good thing we didn't have the show. I'd been an hour late.
When you believe you can achieve, baby. You believed you were ahead. Look at what a productive day it was.
You know what? That's a great segue because I need to segue to something I really wasn't planning on talking about, but I'm going to talk about it here today. So
can I say something in my Johnny voice real quick?
Yeah, please.
You know what? My bag.
I love it, dude.
Don't ever ask. I love it.
Well, you know what? People aren't focused on doing shit. And that's why they're worried about the time. Because they're not doing shit. All right? You have no purpose. You don't have anything going on. So you're worried about the freaking time. That's why you got a heart attack and you're in the ER when you lose a fucking hour.
If you're doing shit, it won't matter if you lose an hour. Because you're not paying attention. You lose an hour and you end up in the fucking ER.
Oh, man.
Not doing
mimicking.
shit.
The numbers keep going up. Just keep mimicking. Just keep going, Marty and Johnny.
Dude, I got to say, Christina, I got to say for a lady, you are at the top of the list of the John invitations.
That was fire. That was fire.
Because most people can't get that. They can't get that gravelly sound. The chicks can't get the gravelly sound. You got that nailed. That was good.
I feel like I'm channeling like a Brooklyner. You go like a little bit to a New Yorker when I do it, but we're owning it.
And Marty, he knows the words to say perfectly. So you guys are getting this down for sure.
Yo, Johnny, I studied your Instagram and I talk to you every day. So I got it. I know what you're going to say before you say it.
You are hanging with Keith, Marty, Christina, and Joanne Anderson here on Mornings and Live with Keith and Friends, the only morning show that helps you guys achieve those big, audacious goals, those accountable goals. We start every single day, 8 o'clock Eastern time, right here on YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. We got a friend joining us, Kyle Thomas, in a few moments, a.k.a. Macklemore. Christina sent over his pictures. I'm like, fuck, the guy looks like Macklemore. But Christina, I think it's before his time. Well, we're going to find out when he joins us. But guys, listen, I know we never talk politics. It's not a politics show. We're all about having fun here and keeping things light. However, I want to talk business, politics, and what happened yesterday. And I want to relate it to Taylor Swift. You're like, what? Yeah. So we all know in business that Taylor Swift has probably done one of the most exceptional jobs. There's the word, guys. Hey, I've done a good job leaving exception off the table lately, Marty.
Good job. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah. So
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly it. That's exactly it. You got to point into the camera.
That's exactly it. I know what Keith's going to say too. I've studied Keith.
We know that Taylor Swift has done just a really great job creating product market fit. You either are a fan or not a fan. She's very intentional with her language, very intentional with her music, and her audience is perfect. Last night in New York City, the big MAGA convention happened. And I don't want to talk about all the racist bullshit that happened there.
What convention? What convention?
The Republican convention, the MAGA convention in New York City. Yeah, yeah.
I thought you said maggot. I was like, what the fuck did he just say? Okay.
I didn't say the MAGA convention. I said the MAGA convention.
That's how much Johnny pays no fucking attention.
I love it. I love it.
I don't give a shit.
I love, which is good. But what I
think Johnny's joking when he does that.
What I want to bring up,
it doesn't fucking make a difference who's in office. I'm gonna kick ass no matter what.
Yeah, there we go. That's why. That's why I set him up. I know how to set Johnny up.
But what I wanted to talk about, which I really enjoyed yesterday, and
pass, Marty. Sorry.
This has nothing to do with the politics of the situation. What I thoroughly enjoyed as just a business person, Christina, looking at you as a marketer, you cannot doubt the skill set. People can come and hate me all they want. You can't doubt the skill set that Donald J. Trump has at speaking to his audience. He does a really incredible job of knowing who he's speaking to and just says what he has to say. And you know what? And they fucking eat out of his hands. Again, this is not about saying who you should vote for. I simply just want to say there's a lesson in communication. There's a lesson in business. Go and watch him talk to his audience. And that's it. Don't lean into what politics are. Just literally listen to how he talks to his audience. The emotion that he connects with. It's actually quite remarkable. And I bring it up, Christina, because I know it was during my personal branding experience with you, and I grew up with Sir Richard Branson, Donald Trump, and those old school marketing, that old school talking to your audience, that old school personal branding. The guy does a great job. I don't care what you say, like him or hate him. He does a great job of knowing who his audience is and using the right words and the right way to speak about it. And I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just simply stating, go and listen to how he talks to his audience, just like Taylor Swift talked to her audience. And it's actually a master class in communication. I'll leave that there.
The point is,
my
if you
two
know
cents.
Your ICP, you don't even have to make any fucking sense when you talk. That's how important it is. If you know your audience, you don't even have to make any sense.
That's true.
Yes, that's exactly it. Sorry, it broke up there.
Oh, that's okay.
You having internet issues again, man?
No, just a little conveyor. Say that again, Christina. Say that again one last time. Sorry.
I said the point is, if you know your audience really well, you don't even have to make sense when you're talking to them.
Yes.
Like our friend.
Thank you for stating that.
He doesn't fucking make any sense when he says anything. We won't even go into that, but they still eat it out of his hand.
That is my point. That if you're a communicator in business or anywhere in life, man, if you can identify your ICP and use the words to emotionally connect with them, to Christina's point, you can sell fucking snow to S.
No.
Exactly.
We don't use that
exactly.
One. No, we don't.
Nope. You could do whatever you want to do.
But to anyone. Let's go with that.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah. What was I need to know what was the big issue with snow to Eskimo? What is am I missing?
Johnny, we don't have time to go into that today. That's an off-camera conversation. We'll get into that. But let's not use it in the meantime.
Okay.
I got
Thanks,
you.
Coach. Thanks, Coach.
Well,
I got you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, so let's do this. Let's go to this, Jimmy. Let's rock and roll. We're going to keep the show going. Yes, we are. I see you, Melissa. Then your audience is more stupider after listening to you. No, I don't know. So my point with that was this whole idea that, and Christina lined it up really well. You don't even have to make sense to your audience. If your audience is eating out of your hand, you could just say whatever you want. And when you convey your truth to your audience believes your truth. That's what's fascinating to me in 2024. It's that truth really doesn't matter. Hey, Jimmy, bring Tina up here quickly on the stage. Tina, truth doesn't matter anymore. Like, to your point, you can just say what you want to say, and you say it enough times and people just believe it. It's just incredible to me. It's an
unfortunate reality. It's an unfortunate reality that truth doesn't matter anymore. But I think the point is, when you clearly know who you're targeting, you clearly know what their problems and what their challenges are, and you know how to speak to those things within them, they're connecting with you, not necessarily the message that you're saying. So the script that you're doing it with, the words that you're using, they're like part of the equation, They like you,
Yeah.
they connect with you, they see themselves in you, and they see that you're potentially somebody that can help them with their problems.
Yeah. And like I said, not about whether you want to vote red or blue. I just found it fascinating how you can just spit what you want to spit. And people are like, yeah, I want to eat that up. The sky is actually gray.
It's sad, but it's real.
It's important. It's incredible. All right, let's keep it going here. Thanks, Tina, for enlightening me on that one. Let's go to the accountability check. And mornings, they're just not neutral. No, they're not. They are either push you forward or they hold you back. Mornings are the key to your fucking day. They are the key to your day. We own them here in the show. We're the morning experts. We wake up every single day with your problem. What's your problem? You hit the snooze button. What's your problem? You can't get your ass going. What's your problem? You can't get out of bed. What's my problem? Nothing. Get up. Yeah, true story. Some people roll over, they scroll, they hope for a productive day. They hope for a productive day. Others wake up on a mission, ready to move the needle. Either way, you're building habits that shape your future nation. So you want to drift through the morning? You're stacking losses. You want to wake up with intention? You're stacking wins. So here's the hard motherfucking truth. Yeah, how you start your day is exactly how you live your life. You miss enough mornings, suddenly the whole year is gone. Yeah, it's true. True fucking story. Business athletes don't leave mornings to chance. No, you get up, you roll over, you get your ass out of bed. Your routine today predicts your results next quarter and next year. Look at those mornings. They're the foundation for today. They're the foundations for tomorrow. They tell you exactly where you're headed. Own your morning, or your morning is going to own you. It's the accountability check-in. Keith Bellison every single here, day at 8:15 Eastern time. And listen, if you're getting value from this show, I invite you to hit that subscribe button, like it, comment it, share it with your friends, and tell somebody this is the greatest morning show you've discovered to help you guys get going. Jimmy, let's bring the crew up. Let's get into center stage. We're going to break down how you start your morning, sets the tone for your career and your life. And joining us is Bizarro Macklemore, Kyle Thomas, an entrepreneur and career strategist who knows a thing or two about building systems at work. His story? Yeah, he went from cubicle guy to Uber's 250th employee and later became a VP at a Y Combinator startup. Now through Up Employment, he's helping ambitious pros land dream roles at top startups faster with clarity and without burnout. His approach, he creates confidence, cuts distractions, and he raps. Yeah, he just raps like nonstop rap. And he builds frameworks.
Is that a Macklemore joke?
It's a total Macklemore joke, Marty. Exactly, yeah. And build frameworks.
Sorry, Kyle.
What's shaking, Kyle? Good to have you on the show.
What's up, brother?
Good to be here. It's definitely not the first time that I've been compared to Macklemore. I'm actually from Seattle, so it's a relevant comparison.
You're joining us from Seattle today, are you?
I actually live in New Jersey now, but born and raised in Seattle.
Oh, there you go. So maybe you're neighbors with Jay Malone. He just down the road lives next to Springsteen and Bon Jovi.
I saw that. Yeah.
There you go. So, hey, we got a brand new question. We are asking every single guest on our show. Moving forward, the most important question, which is this. I'm going to move to this camera over here. Kyle, how do you start your day? How's your morning? What's your morning routine? And if there's no morning routine, tell us. Because we own mornings here in the lab. And we believe that for you to have a successful day, you've got to start it with a kick-ass morning. So, Kyle Thomas, how do you start your morning? When's the alarm clock go off? Do you hit the snooze button? Inspire us, inspire Business Athlete Nation with your morning routine. Kyle Thomas.
All right. Yeah. Alarm went off this morning at 5:30 in the morning. Woke up, went downstairs, coffee was brewed, and I've got 3 kids, a 7-year-old, a almost 5-year-old, and a almost 2-year-old. And so it went straight into breakfasts and lunches and trying to get everybody ready for the day before this. Yeah, oftentimes I'll try to do a little, like a quick core workout, a little meditation, and then get the kids all ready to rock and roll by 8:00 in the morning.
Nice. Marty, I see you in there and you're expressing, you're like, oh, I see how that's your morning starts. Marty, I know you're just looking forward to that one day in life, aren't you, Marty?
Oh, absolutely. And I got a client who has 3 daughters, so similar ages too. And she's always distraught. So I can only imagine what your morning is like, what you're going through.
Yeah, organized chaos. I think that I was listening to the show this morning and talking about planning and stuff like that. I was like, I should really just plan out all the meals. I should really just have the breakfast ready to pop in every morning, and it would be so much easier.
That right there, you just
So
hit my formula for success in parenting. Everything was done the night before.
Yeah.
That's why we give the message.
That's it.
Absolutely.
So Kyle, to John's point, I got not to throw into the bus, just gonna ask the honest question. Why don't you?
Yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuses.
So Marty and John, so today's gonna go at around 3-4 o'clock this afternoon. The kids are gonna come home this evening, and Kyle's gonna be going through his day, and he's gonna be thinking, fuck, man, Billis is making me think about getting ready for tomorrow. And now Johnny's in my head thinking about how to get ready for tomorrow. So I'm betting, guys, this evening, Kyle Thomas is gonna have a moment in his head thinking about John's head, Marty's head, my head, and he's gonna prepare for tomorrow, John Anderson.
Kyle, as soon as I think of it like this, you're either going to do it tonight or you're going to do it tomorrow morning. And you're going to have a lot more serenity doing it tonight. It's almost like you get to make a choice. What kind of life do you want to lead? Because as you said, it's organized chaos. If you can organize it even more and bring more serenity and joy to your life, why not make that simple switch? Because it's not like you're going to save time and you're going to bring quality to your life and your kids. They're going to learn preparing is what helps them become successful. They learn from that shit. My kids, their clothes was laid out the night before. Everything was like, it would just wake up and just turnkey.
Yeah, Kyle, we're all about raising a generation of neurotic people on this show. We really want to get a bunch of ADHD and OHD and ABCD kids.
But what it really did for my kids though, is because that organized chaos, they carry that to school. And so when they have a serene morning, they show up to school in a better frame of mind. Like I actually, at one point, one of them was having trouble when she went to middle school because that's when really the social shit gets heavy. So I started taking them for a quick jog to get them feeling good. So they showed up to school even sharper. So I just felt like it was a duty as a parent to do the best that I could. If I wasn't doing what I knew was best for them, I felt like I was fucking up.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, so Kyle, mornings set the tone for the entire day. Let's be frank, it does. Right? How we start up, how the night ends before, but it's not just about what you do. It's about what you decide not to do. I know I'm always saying yes. Johnny's always saying yes. Marty, because we're always saying yes, but what you learn, often we have to say no to a bunch of things before we can say yes. So Kyle, how do you think the way that leaders make decisions, especially in the morning, impacts their long-term success?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that ultimately, I don't know, it's like the cliche example of like fail to plan and plan to fail. I think that if you go in, we were just talking about this in the personal side, but if you take the same approach from a business perspective, whether you're a full-time employee or a business owner, and you're just like entering into the day, you haven't checked your calendar, you don't know what meetings you have coming up, you're not 100% sure what the metrics were for the different things that you were supposed to be monitoring or the different key critical areas in the business, and you can like jump into the day and look at your calendar for the first time and like just get that cortisol and anxiety going immediately just because you're trying to catch up already. That's a recipe for disaster. And so the more that you can identify what's coming up and plan for that, and maybe even do a little bit of it the night before, that's going to set you up for success, because then you're going to be cool, calm, collected. You're going to be able to understand exactly where you need to be at the different stages, who you need to reach out to, where the different, like I said, the different metrics are. And then again, if you're an employee, you could be communicating that proactively to your managers or to the folks who run the company. Or if you are the business owner, then you can communicate that effectively to the folks who own the levers for those different metrics.
Yeah, we have Patricia joining here with some comments. The day starts with the night before. What do you do the day before so you can start with a great morning? Hey, Kyle, employee number 250 at Uber, 24/7 company, global. What was that like working at Uber? And were they a morning culture business, or were they a 24/7 business? Like when you worked there, talk about the power of mornings within that Uber environment, Kyle Thomas.
Yeah, so that's something that I actually coach people on in the business that I run now, as folks are looking for their next startup role. Because so the previous job that I was in was this cubicle data entry job, and I was living in Seattle at the time. I'd wake up in the dark, I'd have to put on a suit and tie, I'd drive down to SeaTac Airport, I'd sit in a cubicle, I'd enter data all day. It was just like awful, soul-sucking work. And it was like waking up to the alarm, hitting that snooze button. It was like pulling teeth to get me into the office. And contrast that with where I was when I moved to New York City. So I quit that job, moved to New York City, landed this job as an early Uber employee. I was waking up way earlier than I did in Seattle. I was trying to be the first person into the office to open the door to get my work done. And then I was staying many nights until 11 p.m. We were working weekends and things like that. But like the thing that I always say is, like, it wasn't like people crap on hustle culture. It wasn't like that we were that anybody was forcing us to do this, or we were like necessarily burning out. Everyone was just so excited about what we were building and the impact that we were having and the product that we were creating. And so it was less like I think that the standard person probably got in at about, or we opened the doors to the drivers back then at about 9 a.m. because we did all in-person driver support. We did all that kind of stuff live. And so, yeah, it was really around the clock, right? Like, there was no customer support team. We were answering hundreds of tickets from riders and drivers every single day or every single week. And so we were doing everything.
Wow, that's crazy. Just literally, just at that early stage, just doing what you got to do to get the job done, man. That's really cool. And real quick, Kyle, I also want to make sure, when I was ranting on parenting, that was supposed to come across as inspiration and motivational, not what the hell are you doing? So forgive me if it came across that way.
No, I hear it. A lot of it resonated. So
because you struck me as a kind of a competitive guy. So I figured sometimes a little bit of a swift approach works well with a guy like you, as I can see that hustler, that competitor in you.
Hey, Kyle, so Uber, highly competitive, highly aggressive, highly successful organization. You worked with a lot of leaders within Uber along the way, and of course, many today. In your experience, Kyle, do leaders always need to hit the ground running? Or as you age and as you become a father and as you go through businesses and starting your company and work with the different leaders along the way, is there power in taking a more intentional, slower start to the day? Because we're a big fan here on this show of finding what works best for you. The common principle is it starts in the morning. Get your ass up, get going, attack the day. Some might say the more intentional, slower start is better. Where's your POV on this, Kyle?
Yeah, there's a fantastic quote. I remember I read Rich Roll's book called Finding Ultra. And in that book, his coach, he was training for these ultra marathons, and he hired a coach. And the quote that the coach told him was that it's not the fastest man who wins the race, it's the one who slows down the least. And I think that's true in your career. It's true particularly in entrepreneurship. It's true for those high-powered leaders. If you're trying to sprint constantly, everything is an urgent issue, then you're going to burn out. That's just like a recipe for burnout if you're redlining constantly. And so you have to understand how to balance the speed and tackling the priorities while also taking care of your health, while also taking care of your sleep, while also taking care of your family life. Because I ran into something like that. I started this business. I just had my third child. And I think it was like the stress that ultimately hospitalized me while I was trying to like juggle all the balls. And so there is definitely something to be said about maintaining a fast pace, but a steady pace that you can keep over the long term, that you're not going to have to go super hills and super valleys, because then you have to restart once you crash. And particularly if you're in the early stages of entrepreneurship, the business is you're critical to the business. And so you can't have these massive peaks and massive valleys.
All right, here we go. Go ahead, John.
So good. Yeah, no, I was going to say that's so good, because when I'm coaching my clients, and say, look, if you get yourself caught into the point where you're going too fast and you realize, holy shit, I can't maintain this pace, pull back on the throttle and make sure you don't do anything less than a walk. You got to keep walking, keep moving forward, because you'll get your breath back and you'll find a new pace that you can keep. And that's the key. Never stop. I love that message, brother. That's so good.
Great message.
Just keep those feet moving forward. And here at the end of the day, it's not about perfect routines, nation. Not at all. It's about building those habits that fit where you are right now. Right where you are right now might not be where you are tomorrow, but to Johnny's point, you got to start moving in a direction that'll get you to where you want to be tomorrow. What works today might not work next quarter, and that's okay. Because what we know, nation, success isn't static. No, it's about adjusting, iterating, refining, and staying open to change. Dismiss, Producer Flynn, the artificial urgency, right? Your mornings don't need to unlock and look like anyone else's. They just need to work for your way. And hey, with no month coming around the corner, what you might want to consider right now. It's about not adding new habits. It's about getting rid of some of the ones you already had. Say no to something now so you can say yes to something tomorrow. But right now, we're going to say yes to this. Yeah. The CMarty Fit Tip. Chris, you got something related for our business athlete nation to think about?
Yes, of course, man. Come on. You know what it is, Keith. All right. A lot of people think caffeine is the only way to wake up, and that's not true. All right. We're going to talk about some dynamic movements to help you fire your body up, wake your body up, and get your day going. All right. So first, we're going to talk about torso twists. This is going to help loosen up your core, get your spine moving. All right. A lot of times we're sitting at the desk, we're watching football, watching basketball, just sitting down majority of our day, sitting in traffic. All right. It's important to get that spine moving because you don't want to get in a situation where you can get hurt at a sudden twitch or a sudden move. So torso twist is the first one. The second one, the world's greatest stretch. Basically, you're going to open, this is going to help open up your hips. It's basically you're in a split position like you're about to do a lunge, touch the ground. I don't even want to do the stretch right now. You can Google it. You can put one arm in the air, switch sides. You're going to get a hamstring stretch as well, along with your back and your hips. All right, hold this for about 30 seconds, switch sides, you're good to go. And then arm swings. Me and Johnny talk about stretching that upper body, stretching that chest. And a lot of people neglect this. You think stretch, and you just stretch your lower body. So don't forget to give that upper body some attention as well. All right. This is going to activate your nervous system. This will signal your brain and tell your body that it's time to move. It's going to increase your blood flow, get the oxygen going where you need it to go for your energy, and boost your energy without relying on the caffeine. So get your body moving first before you go get that Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And skip the snooze button, hit this quick flow. You good to go for the day. That's your fitness tip for today.
Button, get your ass in the bed and get rolling here with CMarty Fit, the CMarty
Yes, sir.
Let's get moving. That's it. Get moving. You know how Johnny talks, get moving to create some momentum and get yourself moving here today. It's time for the deep dive where we talk about how to build systems that create real momentum and long-term results. We got our guest here today, Kyle Thomas. And listen, we're not talking about just adding more to your plate. You can't always add more to your plate. You keep adding it, something's going to break. It's about getting intentional with those right habits that move the needle in your career and life. And our guest here today, Kyle Thomas, knows all about building that kind of momentum. These days, Kyle helps people create clarity, cut distractions, and build frameworks that make career growth inevitable. But Marty, Johnny, Kyle, let's be honest, man. Most routines fail and they fall apart before they even get off the ground. So Kyle, with the entrepreneurs and startup founders and the folks you've worked with along the way, just bottom line, Kyle, glasses off for this one. What's the biggest reason that routines fail?
Good question.
That is a very good question. I think speaking from personal experience, I think that the biggest thing is that you try to bite off more than you can chew right from the get-go. So like thinking about John and Marty in like the workout space, you go in and you're like trying to do from day one deadlifts and you like every single thing. You're trying to throw all this weight on the bench press or whatever. And then the next day you're sore or you're hurt or whatever. And then you can't go to the next day. And so it's like, instead of trying to like have this massive load that you put on yourself right off the get-go, what's like the minimum amount of work that you can do today that you can maintain consistently, going back to what we were talking about before. And then once you get in the habit of that and you build a system around that, all right, cool. Now let's ramp up either the volume or let's adjust the whatever that is. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is just like do the minimum viable amount, because that's going to keep you coming back to it. It's going to feel, enjoyable. It's going to feel easy, whatever. You're going to look forward to that. And then you can ramp up the volume or whatever the habit is. But that's one of the biggest things that I've seen.
It's incredible, Kyle. I got to jump into Marty and Johnny here quick and throw it to these guys. I'm 52 years old and I'm still learning that myself. Like I during starting this whole morning show and starting this whole new business, I've had to adapt some new routines. And John, Marty, as we've been building this together, there's been times during our journey where I'd get up one week and I'm trying to do 8 things and I failed at 7 of them. It finally was probably about a few months ago where producer Flynn's like, just do one thing. I'm like, yeah, I'll just get the button sorted out today. And it was funny because I just figured out one but 52, not 12, not 20, not 30, 52. I'm still figuring it out. Marty.
Yeah, I was That's not what I was going to say, but I did want to add a quick comment. You do a lot of stuff at once, and I can see it rattles you sometimes. So
Yes.
Shout out to Coach Flynn for that. But I just wanted to add that a lot of people get caught up in doing what seems sexy or what sounds good. So Keith, our favorite one, and John too, we like to joke about the cold plunging. You have to do what works for you. You don't even have a desire to cold plunge. You just heard somebody on Instagram say it. So you want to cold plunge. Do what works for you. Stop trying to do what's sexy. I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah.
And I think another thing, going back to why the systems fail, is like in my coaching and mentoring, people want to immediately go to creating a system around training the body, when in actuality, we got to train the mind first. And so when you create the system around the wrong thing, it doesn't yield the results. So why the hell would you continue the system? So you got to understand, what are you creating? You got to create the system around that thing that moves the needle forward the biggest and the fastest. That way, when the results start coming, you're good. That system's in place. You just stack another habit on top of that. The system continues to grow. But finding where you need to create the system. Don't just create a system. Create the system on what is going to move it forward the biggest and the fastest.
This is where it gets really good for Kyle. John and Marty, I don't know if you guys know this, but this is where our message gets quite awesome, frankly. So the real challenge with routines isn't just starting them. And we got to know Kyle with what I'm going to say next through something he posted for our Creator Spotlight. It's just keeping them alive when life gets messy, right? And anybody can crush routines and goals when things are smooth. We talk about winning teams, which is win, and it masks, it band-aids the failures along the way. But what happens when the wheels come off? And that's where the real work starts. And Kyle can relate to this. Kyle, better than most. You've just hit a full year without having a drop of alcohol.
Very nice, brother. Very nice. That's good shit.
And that shift, Kyle, didn't just change your weekends, frankly. It reworked your mornings, your priorities, how you interact with your children, how your children see dad, and how you show up for your family, your business, everything, Kyle Thomas. So when routines slip, and let's be honest, they always will, what's that smartest way to reset without losing momentum and take that to this idea of, I'm stopping drinking, I'm resetting everything? Lean into this accomplishment, Kyle Thomas.
Yeah, so like the rationale behind it, I wouldn't say I have the healthiest relationship with alcohol ever since like I started drinking long ago. And then when you get older, I have 3 kids, I have an infant business. It was just like too much to juggle. And I found that it was not adding anything to my life, right? Like it wasn't like anything was particularly better. Like the exact opposite was true. It was like creating more anxiety. I wasn't as productive, and it was more taking away from that like quality time with family or friends or whatever. And so, yeah, I eliminated that. And I think that like the interesting thing with that was initially, I think that you think that everyone's going to care or that you're not going to be able to have fun or whatever. And I think like the big thing for me is just like realizing, oh, now I can wake up at 5 a.m. on Saturday and treat it like a Tuesday and do the thing that I really want to do, which is work on the business and go and exercise and take the kids out to the park or go in the woods or something like that. Yeah, I think that you had mentioned, I think no November or the month of no or whatever. And I think that oftentimes people think, oh, I have to add all these things in order to be more productive or to get where I'm going. And oftentimes it's more about subtraction than it is about addition. Like subtract down to just like what is the essential things. Because the big thing for me is I have way more energy. I feel like I've tapped back into the person that I was, like the creative energy, the excitement. I always think about like, what did I do before I was going out and drinking all the time? And it was like, oh, you'd play ultimate frisbee with your friends in high school, right? You like, and were you having more fun then, or were you having more fun, I don't know, at the bar or whatever? And not to like, say that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but for me, where I'm at right now in my life, like this is 100% the right move, and it's been nothing but positive.
Marty, John?
Real quick, I just got to say one quick thing. You said earlier, you said I didn't have a good relationship with alcohol. And here's the thing. This is my belief. Nobody does. They just tell themselves they do. No. Because alcohol is poison. And no matter what you say, there's not a benefit in turn. Now, granted, maybe you're a little loose, maybe you overcome some social anxiety. I get that. But if you just learn to overcome that without the booze, you're going to become a better person. Most people use alcohol as some sort of a crutch. So I love the fact that you were just honest about that. It was so powerful because the people that tell themselves they have a healthy relationship with alcohol are lying to themselves.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead, Marty.
I wanted to add too. I like how you said, "What would I do when I was in high school or like before I started drinking?" A lot of people will say, "Oh, you're not drinking? That's boring." Or you don't want to go to the bar? That's boring. And it's you were doing stuff and having fun before you ever even learned what alcohol was. So I like that there too.
Yes.
Kyle Thomas, I applaud you, man. I applaud you on your efforts, your journey, everything we've learned about you and so forth in the business. Kyle, take a couple minutes here quickly before we say goodbye and wrap up the segment. Tell Business Athlete Nation how they can find you. Talk a little bit about your current business, up employment, and take the 60, 90 seconds. Plug yourself, plug the business. Give Athlete Nation the reason to want to come connect with Kyle Thomas.
All right. Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Kyle Thomas on LinkedIn. I'm the guy who looks like Macklemore. So you can come follow me.
Own it, baby. Own it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Gotta own
but yeah, like my story, so we mentioned a little bit, but I joined Uber as the 250th employee. Before that, I was working this cubicle data entry job that I hated. That realization of going from that job I hated to a life-changing opportunity, life-changing amount of money in like a venture-backed startup. It was without any sort of like additional certifications or skills or not an MBA. It was purely the approach and the methodology. And then I used it again to land a job after I was laid off from Uber. And so right now we have a community, a course, tons of resources, everything that I wish that I would have had when I was making those jumps into those startups to try and like de-risk that process and to eliminate the anxiety, the uncertainty, and the loneliness of the job search, put you around some other badass job seekers that are looking for startup roles. And so that's what we do. We help people identify those companies, really get clear on exactly what they want to do next in their career, the specific characteristics of that next role that's going to help them accelerate to not just necessarily the next role, but the next role. And I think that there's no better place if you want to become an entrepreneur to learn how to do that than potentially joining one of these venture-backed companies, because you have a lot of resources, you get to learn on the fly, you get that accelerated learning process, you get to touch every aspect of the business. And so I know for me, that was the case. I know a bunch of people that came out of Uber. There's tons of founders that came out of Uber. There's tons of executives that are running other companies now that came out of there. And of course, everybody wants to join the next Uber, but we help folks to identify how can they either A, find that, which is very hard. If we were able to do that, then we probably wouldn't be teaching people to job search. We'd probably be investing, but how to identify those kind of up and coming companies and how to set up yourself in that next role for success. Even if that company closes, you can walk away being like, look, that was an incredible experience, and be far faster on the path to where you want to go than you were when you started. So
awesome.
Very nice. Very
awesome.
nice.
Kyle Thomas, we met you during our creator spotlight segment a few weeks back, and we said, hey, why don't you come on the show and hang out with us? Have you enjoyed your time here with us as we have enjoyed with you, Kyle Thomas, here today?
Yeah. It's been a pleasure, guys. Loved spending the morning with you. It's been awesome.
We're doing something different. We're trying to create some new energy, some new vibe, a brand new show here in the mornings. And I invite you to keep tuning in on X, LinkedIn, and YouTube, Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Kyle, come back and hang out with us again, will you?
Will do.
Appreciate you, Kyle.
Awesome. We got Jory Jensen joining us.
Thank you, Kyle. Pleasure.
We got Jory joining us for the protein break. But first, until then, we have this young man joining us from the Baja. John Adams.
What we got today, John? What we got today, man?
We got a lifestyle segment. Johnny Adams. Have a good one, Kyle. Take care, brother.
All right, Kyle.
Go get it, Johnny.
Many successful people will not tell you this, but I'm going to tell you right now. All you've got to do to beat 80% of people out there is show up. That's right. Show up. You don't have to have a great workout. You don't have to have a great work day. You don't have to have a great whatever you're doing, as long as you get down the art and the habit and the system of showing up. You will get ahead so fast. When I discovered this, it completely changed my world. I learned pretty much everything that I learned in terms of discipline and in the gym. And once I realized that I didn't have to feel good to show up, I didn't need to have a barn burning workout to still make progress. And I took that and I applied it to all the areas of my life, my relationships, my business. My life just exploded because it became so simple. It became so refined. All I've got to do is show up to get ahead. That's exactly what I did. And I promise you, if a fat little boy with a whopping learning disability like me can do it, you can too. Rock and roll.
You heard Johnny, just show up. When you show up, magic happens. When you move your feet, what happens, Johnny? Momentum happens. When you move your feet, momentum happens. You create movement. What happens, Johnny? Action.
Make
Activity.
progress, baby.
Make
Progress.
baby.
Just a little bit every day, and it stacks up, man. It's just the way it works. It's a simple formula, and if people just grab a hold of the simplicity of showing up, life will change, and you see the fruits of your labor very quickly.
That's right. And if you're considering showing up right now and the guy next to you is not, you're already going to be ahead of him. So I encourage you to get your ass up and get moving here this morning. Hey, we got Joey Johnson joining us here, our resident expert. And I know today's conversation is going to be a fun one. I think, Marty, we might have to take Johnny off the stage for this because we're talking about not eating for the next 12 minutes.
Yeah, get him out of here.
I know. So Jimmy, let's be careful with how we're going to put Johnny on camera here because we're talking about not eating, and we know that Johnny eats more than I think all of us combined.
Well, you're gonna enjoy my position on this, though. You're gonna enjoy my position on this, is because here's the thing: is we're talking about fasting, right? If you understand the purpose of fasting and you're doing it for that purpose, then there's not a problem. But most people are doing it, and they have no clue why they're doing it. They're doing it because their neighbor's doing it.
Yeah.
So
you want to lose weight as fast as possible.
Yeah.
It's when any sort of methodology is used for its purpose, I'm going to support it. It's just, do people know? You ask them why they're fasting, they can't fucking tell. Oh, my neighbor did it. And it's almost always because they want to lose weight. Jesus Christ, stop eating McDonald's and you get that job done.
All right, so I haven't updated the button yet, Jory. I'm so sorry. You got the castrated goat on the show here this morning, but
no, that's the female goat.
Get Johnny
that's
started.
the good one. That's the female goat. Jory's the female goat. That's the one for her.
Oh, Jory.
I think we're done. We're good.
Hey, Jory, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Jory, tell everybody about fasting and what it's for and how they can use it so they can understand how to use it, please.
I feel like I'm the person that comes in and it's really like knocking down the magic process around these things.
Right.
So, here's the
Jory's the hope killer for our show. She's
right?
like, she's killing hope.
I was so excited until Jory came up. Here's the deal. I totally agree with you, John. If we need to put this in simple terms, let's go back to what every single show has led to: make better choices.
Yeah.
But let's go to what does science say
Yes.
about intermittent fasting real quick. The science says we're not sure. The science says we know how it works in rats.
Okay.
So if we're looking at 6 rats versus hundreds of humans, we don't have that support yet. Now, it doesn't say that just because we're leaping ahead of the science that some of this isn't actually going to be evidence-based, legit stuff. But I think that we as humans are jumping a little bit too soon because intermittent fasting can be, from what we can see so far, a way to keep calories in check. If the goal is to decrease the what to and what not to eat, intermittent fasting is perfect because you've got this chunk of time, however you want to set it up, 5 to 16,
Yes.
48, whatever, however you want to set it up. It's at the end of the day restricting caloric intake. Now, if your goal is just weight loss and you don't care about body composition.
Yes. So, Jory, is this as much semantics with words for human beings? So as last 10, 15 years, as we've all been in it, as the world has changed to social media and everybody's an expert, everybody can open up their phone and everybody becomes an expert, right? We've all grown up with break fast. So in many ways, humans have grown up with, okay, we have our dinner at 5, 6 o'clock, and then we're not supposed to eat until the morning again. So in many ways, we've all grown up with this ideology of breaking fast in the morning. But then somewhere along the way, and I think it's been with this, as social has become last 20 years, we're all experts. And then intermittent fasting became a thing. And I was like, okay, you sleep for 8 hours, you don't eat for 18. And then all of a sudden, we don't talk breakfast anymore. We talk about intermittent fast now. Yeah. When all we're really talking about is just deciding when you're not going to eat and when you're going to eat. So I'll share my own personal experience. I intermittent fast. What that means for me is that my last meal in the evening, whatever it's going to be, 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock before I go to bed, I don't eat again I won't eat again today till probably 4 o'clock. But it works for me. I trained on an empty stomach. I ran this morning. I lift. I know John is cringing probably, but it works for me. It makes me feel, it feels good for me. And I think that's the point, and that's for my goal.
Yes.
That's the goal, isn't it, Johnny? Is that it works for me. It's not about what's up for Johnny. It's what works for Keith. John, lean into that, because some people like you are always like, but I got to do what Jory said, or I got to do what John said.
I think there's pretty much everything we talk about is here's these concepts, and you take these concepts, you find your individual formula, you put them together, you twist them, you make it work for you. And that's what we're looking for, because just because I do it this way doesn't mean everybody should do it this way. It means they should look at what I do and take what works for them and leave what doesn't behind. But one thing about the intermittent fasting that I want to bring into this that very rarely hear people talk about, and Joy, please correct me if I've got the number of hours incorrect, but I believe it's 8. Once the digestion has stopped working for 8 hours, the body goes into this mode of getting rid of toxicity. And so once I think it's 8 hours. Once you cross that barrier, the body goes into kind of hyper getting rid of toxicity mode, which now if somebody says, hey, I'm going to use this because I want to detox, I want to keep my body healthy and clean, that makes sense to me. If somebody says, I'm doing it because I'm having a hard time limiting my caloric intake, that makes sense to me. But just give me a reason that you're doing it that actually applies to you rather than your fucking neighbor who did it in XYZ. So, Joy, was I correct with 8 hours? Once the digestion is shut, not working after the 8 hour mark, it starts going into hyper, get rid of toxicity mode?
Yeah, if we look like overall, right? So once we've stopped, then the body can actually relax and chill and recover. That's why we sleep, right? The body can actually repair itself. Right. And so if we're constantly feeding all the time, the body's constantly working at figuring out, okay, so this sorts over here, we got to sort the laundry, right? And so that's what the body's constantly doing. And when you give it a break, a little vacation, a little R&R, it can actually start to build and repair itself and just chill. We've got functioning kidneys, liver, our body knows what to do when we are in a healthy state. Not everybody's healthy. So that's true. The other part I want to bring into this, though, is that the social aspect of intermittent fasting. Now, there's a few things in there, and I'll try not to overtake because I can be quite chatty. And so I'll try to make sure.
We love it, Jory.
We're doing it. But there's a few things that I've seen in my 20 plus years of my careers that we got to be careful with this, because one, what's it teaching the people around us? If you've got teens, kids, they pick up on things really fast, right? Yeah. So looking at, if you're intermittent fasting for an outcome, not religious reasons, for an outcome for a body change, we have to be very careful when we're doing this. So I've worked with clients that like to intermittent fast. I like eating way too much, but there are people that really enjoy the intermittent fasting. It brings them some control
and clarity,
right? So that's cool. But then I say, okay, so you've got little eyes watching you. Could you do this from like after supper to kids? You're helping kids get sorted out, and then you go to your regime of fueling and your why around that. We want to be careful. There's also a huge population, males and females, who just typically have labeled it as a female thing, but we know it's not, is that we've grown up with disordered eating and an eating disorder. So intermittent fasting will never be okay for someone who has an eating disorder background.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
It makes it worse.
100%.
Yeah, anxiety goes 100%. Up. There's the loss of control. And
George, sorry, I got to just jump in. I so love what you said a minute ago about it. People need to hear this. If you're intermittent fasting, you're not eating breakfast, and you're grazing, eating shit at night, and you have kids, you're teaching them to do this terrible habits. What you need to do is eat dinner and have some discipline and not eat for the last 4 hours you're awake. That's what you should be teaching them. Start your fast before you go to sleep. Rather than eating a bunch of bullshit, processed foods until you go to sleep and waking up and not eating breakfast, your kids don't give a shit what you say. They care what you do. And if you live that bad habit, you are giving it to them, and that's terribly unhealthy.
Yeah. So I love this conversation. As a matter of fact, I think we may even want to keep it going throughout the rest of the week. I think we can dig into a number of different ways about it, because I have intermittent fasted. I did a 7-day fast. I know Johnny would argue that because I included the MCT oil in my coffee that I wasn't fasting, and I can respect that. But I did a 7-day just drank coffee fast. And
they just call that an MCT oil fast.
Yes, exactly. But what I thoroughly enjoyed out of it is, Marty, what I thoroughly enjoy out of fasting, Jory, is I enjoy the clarity it gives me. It really does. I know people maybe can't understand it, but I have a clear mind when I'm not eating. Like I don't feel foggy. I don't feel like I don't have a decision to make. I'm like, okay, I'm not eating. And that's just what works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody, but it works.
And brother, that's such a great thing, because some people argue, oh, I'm not eating, so my body's doing this thing to my focus. Or how about you've just fucking made a decision? You don't have to worry about that for a while. And so you're able to see things more clearly, because food normally is this little fucking voice that fucks with us all goddamn day. You stick a sock in that son of a bitch's mouth, all of a sudden you see clearly. Am I right, Jory?
I love your analogies. It allows for some people, and it's like same thing as caffeine can be performance enhancing for some people.
Yes.
And it's like anxiety escalating for others. So just like anything else, a workout program, the way you choose to fuel and nourish your body needs to be personalized. And we talked last time about periodization. I also look at, is this the right time for you to implement fasting?
Yes.
Are you going through some family challenges? Are you going through a really important project at work that is really escalating your stress response? Maybe that's not the best time, right? So I would say periodize, personalize, and do a little check of your why. And let's get the dysfunction out of eating out of it. And let's look at health, wellness, and performance on demand.
This is awesome.
There's one element that we did not touch on, which this is the one thing that I'll be totally in support of. And if this applies to plenty of topics other than fasting, but it promotes discipline.
Yes.
You have to decide, I'm not going to fucking eat until whatever time.
Yes.
And when you make a choice and you execute that, it builds discipline. And what we need is discipline, because motivation is fucking great, but we all lose our motivation. Discipline is doing the shit that you need to do when you don't want to do it. And if fasting helps you with your discipline, there's a positive for sure.
Oh, I like that, Johnny. So you know what we're going to do, Jory? When we come back on Wednesday, I'd like to continue the conversation on fasting, but let's work on how somebody can get started with it. So because when I made that choice years ago, I didn't know how to get into it. I just started, and then you can learn. But someone's like, I'm thinking about it. How do I start? Do I not eat for a week? Do I not eat for 4 hours? What do I eat when I eat? When do I break fast? But let's get into that key, because this affects a lot of people, and a lot of people, I believe, are curious about it, want to learn about it, and I think we can keep educating about it. So on Wednesday, when we come back with Jory in the protein break, let's talk about how we can get started at intermittent fasting and how we can teach discipline around that. Jory, final word to you before we wrap up today.
So yeah, I think great. Let's continue the conversation, but let's remember that this isn't for everyone.
Yes.
Right? I look at the individual. If someone has poor blood sugar control, they have actual type 1. If you're pregnant, there are certain reasons why we're going to say, let's not even go there right now. But yeah, I think everything has to be personalized, and something will work. And just really, what's your intention? What's the outcome that you want out of it? And is it sustainable for you? And it looks like it is for you, Keith, but for others, it creates other havoc. So is it sustainable? And you don't know until you try. So yeah, let's go into, there's so many ways to intermittent fast.
Well,
so many.
And you said something which struck me, because I got to be honest, I thought about it, but I didn't really think about it again until you raised it a few moments ago. But what are our kids seeing as we're going through intermittent fasting? And I remember a friend of mine saying, as she was counting her macros during her life, and she saw her kids watching her macro counting, and she stopped, because she's like, wait a minute, I don't want my kids growing up thinking I got to count how many fucking carbohydrates are in my cauliflower. That was quite striking to me, because she changed the way she did things in front of her kids. Because as Johnny said, it's what our kids see instead of what our kids tell, and so what we tell our kids, right? So that was striking to me as well, right? It was teaching our kids.
Kids should not be intermittent fasting.
No,
I agree.
Intermittent fast. So counting macros. Yes, Jory, thanks for hanging out with us today. Great conversation, really great conversation. We'll bring Jory back on Wednesday.
Thank you, Jory.
Jory's always
Jory.
Here for the protein break. You go and have an awesome day, Jory, and I'll come knock on your door maybe later today. We can talk more about the League of Business Athletes.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right,
Thank you guys. I appreciate you all.
Have a great day, Jory. Great to see you.
Wednesday.
All right. Guess what? We have our next favorite segment. Yes, the coach is joining us for the personal brand break. Get after it, coach.
Get it. Let's get it.
Get after it.
Get it.
Let's get it.
Never in my fucking wildest dreams would I think that I would be on camera doing what I just did. Here we are. We can all grow. All right. You've heard me say it before. You don't know yourself. You just think that you do. Here's the neuroscience behind why you don't see your own story clearly. So here's something you might not expect from me. I actually did not know how to build my own personal brand, which sounds wild because I've been building personal brands for NBA All-Stars, VCs, startup founders, digital artists for the last 16 years. I'm incredibly self-aware. I had a psychiatrist since I was 12. And yet when it came to building my own brand, I was entirely lost. And why? The reason that I learned was it's actually neuroscience. So Dove, who we all know and love, at least I do. I don't know if you do. They ran a campaign over a decade ago, and they actually showed this perfectly based on the shocking statistic that 80% of women don't actually see themselves as beautiful. And guess what? I actually don't think that stat is that far off and just as pervasive for men. They hired an FBI sketch artist to draw two women in two different ways, or to draw women in two different ways. Sketch one was drawing the woman as they described themselves. Sketch two was drawing the woman as described by other people who had met that woman for only a couple of minutes earlier that day. The second sketch from someone's perspective who only met them for a couple minutes a day was overwhelmingly more realistic. Why? Because the reality that we see is biased. Our brains create a version of reality based on past experiences, assumptions, and predictions. And that's why you think your story is worthless. That's why you think your story is no big deal. But those thoughts are just your brain making assumptions. They're not the truth. They're not your truth. So if you're doubting your story, understand this. It's not the real story. It's not reality. It's just your brain's perception of it. And you are so much more than what you think you are. Yes, it's really that simple. I have entered my no fucks era, and I promise you, if you take today's brand bite into account, you will be one step closer into entering yours. You got this.
Christina gets it every single day at this time, the personal brand bite. Listen, nation, if Flynn can do it, so can you. You can get your ass out of bed. You can get rolling. You can chase those things you want to do. You're like, I just don't know how to get started. Flynn does it. We asked her to join the show a few months back, and she kicks ass with this personal brand bite every single day. And she's owning it. Speaking about owning it,
we can't see him.
What the hell are we looking at there? What does it say?
Oh yeah, looks like my battery died on that camera.
There we go.
Hey Keith, come on, man. You gotta get it together with the cameras, man.
Never seen that version of Keith before.
There you go. There you go. Hey, good morning, everybody. Personal. Yeah, morning loop reloaded with a different camera here. The battery died on that one. I guess I learned something here this morning. I always learn something new as we fly the airplane as we're building it. And I learned today that the battery dies after an hour on this one. Yeah, that's how it works.
You know what you just did there, Keith?
Tell me.
You pulled your pants down.
Yeah, I did.
I did.
It. Shout out to
Show them the short and curlies, baby. Show them the short and curlies.
Hold those
sorry, Tina.
Yeah, I got to get the shaver out today, Johnny.
I'm fine until we talk about the short and curlies. And then I just get a visual that I don't want. Nope.
Hey, you're hanging out with Keith. That's me. You're hanging out with Marty. That's the guy over there. He's wearing that green shirt. He's the handsome dude there with the red headset on. That's Marty. He's got an awesome mom. We're gonna get his mom on the show one day. She's just crushing life underneath the guise of.
You're gonna love my mom.
I suspect we are. And that guy drinking that coffee, that's John Anderson. Yeah, that's Johnny. He stumbled onto the show a few months back with me and Marty, and we haven't been able to get rid of him ever since. So he just hangs out with us as well. And then, of course, we got producer Flynn over there, and she's the one dropping these nuggets and making us young men better every single day. And that guy over there pressing the buttons, I just ignore him. His name's Jimmy. Yeah, he just sits there and presses buttons and makes
literally everything happen.
That's it. He makes everything happen. So if the show's not working, we just blame it on Jimmy.
Just blame it on him, and we're all off the hot seat.
Working, which is when people don't realize it's because of Jimmy as well.
That's right. That's right. Hey, team. So I got a question for you. Is there a connection? Is there a connection between emotional intelligence and happiness? Does EQ really help us be happier, especially as we start our days in the morning? And here's the answer. Absolutely it does. And it's been proven. According to literature and some scientific research, happiness has both a cognitive and emotional side. And nation, as you're starting your day today, whether you're choosing, right, Johnny? Whether you're choosing to be happy or choosing to not be happy, it's going to matter on how you're going to get through your day today. And if you're in a leadership role, it's truly going to matter how your EQ relates to the rest of your day. But let's talk about this whole thing. How can people with high emotional intelligence boost their overall happiness with 4 habits? We talk about this show, starting your day with positive habits, mornings in the lab. We're talking positive habits. So let's talk about the 4 things that humans can do to boost happiness to start their day. Now, these are.
Can I sneak in real? Can I say one thing before we go here, brother? So this is a real interesting thing, because now hear when I say this, right? So thoughts are the language of the mind.
Yes.
Emotions are the language of the body. So when you have a fucked up thought, it creates a negative emotion. So we have much more control over this than we think. We have to really be careful what we're thinking about, because what we think about, good or bad, is going to create a good or bad chemical. That good or bad chemical is what's going to create an emotion in our bodies. Now our bodies are going through, so let's just say it's a negative thought. Our bodies are going through a negative emotion, all because we had a fucked up thought.
Yes.
So we have much more control of this than we think. So everybody needs to be very aware of that before we dive into this.
So I'm dropping this, nation, because I want to give you guys some nuggets to get through your day today. I want to give you some things. You're starting your day going, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or I woke up on a crooked mood today. So listen, let's go through some ways that you perhaps can attack your habits today as you start your morning to be successful. Marty, eliminate the tendency to react impulsively. So often we react when faced with an emotionally charged situation. The key is we react. When triggered to react, we learn from the models of high EQ that we first need to reflect on what's pushing our buttons and choose to keep calm. Marty, talk about eliminating the tendency to react impulsively, because I know Johnny's got one to lean into because he talks about this often. But talk about this whole idea of don't react impulsively. Marty, how have you learned not to react impulsively?
Well, this is why you have your morning routine. No, but seriously though, that's why you have your morning routine. So for me specifically, when I wake up and do my stretches and my yoga every morning, it puts me in a mind state. So now I'm responding instead of reacting. Yeah, because I get a lot of bullshit throughout my day, every day. Yeah. And as a professional, you can't just react. Somebody might come to me with a certain tone or tell me my plan didn't work. I can't just react emotionally and be like, no, you're not following directions. I got to respond in a mature, professional way. Definitely. So the morning routine has a lot to do with that.
Yes. Johnny, coming at you this one, brother.
Yeah, I was going to say what really helped me get a grip on this one, because as humans, we're reactors. It's easy for us to react. It's the way the brain's wired. But so what in the world we live in now, when I was learning to do this, social media didn't exist. So it's a bigger challenge now because you got people in person, you got people on social media, you got people on TV. But think like this. When you react to somebody, because usually that's what's happening, you're reacting to another person somehow, some way. You're giving that person the power of changing and altering your day. I personally don't give anyone the ability to get control of my day. I choose if I'm fucked up. That person over there, he can say, you're a fucking cocksucker. And I'll say, you're probably right. And then it releases and I'm done. Over. Someone could say, you know what? 6 + 6 is 175. You're correct. Now go tell someone else, please. And it says, as soon as you learn to respond to protect your own state of mind, that's how I got it. Was like, I'm not letting any of these people have control over my day. And as soon as I really got a hold of that, it was like, this is so much easier, because then it was me versus the people who don't get it. And for me, I turn shit into a competition. I'm better that way. So I'm not letting somebody have control of my day, period. End of story.
Yes. See, listening to math lessons with Keith, John, and Marty. 6 + 6 = 175. Here on Mornings in the Lab with Keith and friends.
6 + 6 is 12.
Tina.
What did you say, Christina?
No, I'm just singing.
Tina,
don't mind me.
Reach out first after a heated exchange. Too often when we get into an argument with a friend, a partner, or a colleague, I don't want to get first. I don't want to reach out first. Christina can come reach out first. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not reaching out. No, Christina's got to do it. I'm not being humble. No, I'm turning my back. Hold on a second here. Reach out first after that heated exchange. Put your emotional intelligence on the table and be the first one. to increase that happiness. Christina, lean into that whole idea about reaching out first after a heated exchange and the magic of that situation.
Our default mode is ego.
Mm-hmm.
It's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else's fault. When you learn, and when I learned to immediately go to, this is you. Something you have done, something that has triggered you, has put you in this situation. What they're feeling is super valid. I can't understand that. So for me, it's always about what got me in this situation in the first part, reflecting on it, saying what the fuck is happening here that is pressing my buttons, that it's making me react, and then calling it what it is. The number of times that I could have taken an argument with my wife from to here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, we all know it, right? And you're heated. And versus just saying, I'm sorry. How can we get through this? I want to better understand how you're feeling. Yes. I want to better understand what I did to contribute to how you're feeling. And here's the kicker. You don't have to agree at all. You don't have to agree whether they're right or wrong. What if that doesn't matter at all? It's just a matter of saying, there's a problem here. There's a challenge. How are we as a team going to work together to solve it and both have responsibility in that?
Yeah, it's actually, you're absolutely right, Tina. Hey, we're talking about how you can boost your happiness with 4 habits today. Today, 4 habits that you can instill in your day as you're starting your day right now. Don't hit the snooze button. Don't do it. Get up, get moving, create the momentum. And think about one of the things that we're dropping right now so that you can have a more positive day than perhaps you were thinking about having today. First one you can do really is get into this whole idea of eliminating the tendency to react impulsively. Don't react. Don't let somebody get joy out of your reaction. As John said, if you react, they've won. Think about that. If you react, that person has won. Control the situation. Number 2, reach out first, as Tina said. Listen, it's not actually, at this point, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Just go reach out first. Be the human. Show some kindness. Create the bridge. Here's number 3. Marty, Christina, Johnny. Show some gratitude. Right? Gratitude is one of the most powerful things that we can embrace and show to yourself and to the other person. If you're going through a situation, be grateful for yourself and then be grateful for the human you're talking to. That is probably going to alleviate much of the situation and probably bring some happiness to your habits. Number 4, guys. Number 4. This is a great.
I'm sneaking one little thing right there, brother. Everybody needs to understand the human brain doesn't have the capability to feel anxiety and gratitude at the same time. So you have control of getting rid of that feeling that's got you all fucked up and bringing in a feeling that's going to make you feel more grounded and ready to move forward with whatever situation has got you on edge. So yes. You have control just by your thoughts.
Yes. And nation, I'm going to invite you all to think about what I'm going to say next. When I talk about Business Athlete Nation, perhaps I'm talking as much about the nation at large. In the next 10 days, there's going to be some political decisiveness happening in the United States of America. What I would invite you to consider is you're sitting with your neighbors, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your collaborators, any human being that's next to you, is find a way to seek common ground. Find a way to seek common ground. Ask a friend, ask a coworker, ask about a way you can find a place to meet in the middle. And if you can find that place to meet in the middle with curiosity, imagine the happiness that might come out of that situation. Alternatively, you can go into the situation and you can ignore everything that we've just talked about, and you could react, let the other person win. You could not reach out after a heated exchange, and you can choose not to show gratitude. And then I would invite you to ask yourself how good you probably would feel if you got into this last situation of seeking common ground and saying, fuck it. I don't know. Is that the life that you want to live? It's not the life that I want to live. So I invite you, think about these things, 4 things we talked about. Invite yourself, give yourself the permission to establish these 4 habits. Maybe pick one. But as we go the next 10 days, find the common ground, please. I think it's probably in the best interest of all of us in humanity is just to find a way towards some common ground.
It's such a hurdle for some people, man.
It is. Yeah. It absolutely is. And
we're taught the opposite. That's why we're socialized the opposite. We're not taught find common ground. We're taught, you're right. Own it. Be strong about it. Be stubborn about it. Because if you think you're right, you've got to be right.
That's so true.
It's true. And as we talked about at the beginning of the show, and I talked about it in the morning loop, we saw the Republican convention yesterday and the power of words, right? The power of words can convince people to do a lot of different things. But I invite you, again, I go back to repeating myself, find common ground, show gratitude, reach out after a heated exchange, and try not to react. If you react, you're already losing.
And on that level, two people that have very different opinions that understand that they don't agree with each other can still be cordial, can still be kind to each other. They can still do all the things that a good human being could do, regardless if their opinions are completely ass backwards. So that right there is something that people need to get a grip on. We don't all have to agree to get along.
That's right. It's absolutely right.
Real quick, just because we talked about politics, I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm hearing stories of people like blocking someone or just cutting off all ties because of the political disagreement. I just think that's so childish.
Yes.
And it would just be. I would love for people to get past this. I'm only 31, so I don't know if it was always like this. I've only been through a couple elections, but it's so childish to me. I can't see myself, dealing with people like that as I get older. So.
Yeah, said Marty. Well said. All right, Jimmy, let's pivot to the In the Gym segment with John and Marty. And I threw something at Marty this morning, which was said, Marty, let's lead a conversation with John today around the 10 most important principles of building muscle in the gym. Now, we might not get to all 10 today. We perhaps might use the week to get through this, but let's talk about Marty.
So I'm just going to pick out the good ones.
Awesome. Yeah.
Is that cool?
100% Marty, because people tuning in are going, what we talked about, Jory, about intermittent fasting, but what are the principles of building muscle? So when I go to the gym, I want to build muscle. I don't want to build fat. So what are the principles along that? So I'm going to get off stage with Tina. I'm going to go see if I can get my camera back on here and throw you guys up here for 6-7 minutes, and we'll come back and continue. All right.
All righty.
Let's
Sounds good.
Over to you, Marty. Johnny.
All right. Johnny.
Lead the way, my brother. Lead the way.
All right, the first one we got, Johnny, progressive overload. That being basically the cornerstone to muscle building. How do you feel about that one?
Well, there's no question that it works, but there's so many other elements that have to be in place to lean on that. This is something that you're talking about doing a little bit more every time you come back around the pipe. And in order to have that work, you've got to have your sleep in check. You got to have your stress in check. You got to have your diet in check. And very few people have all of this in harmony. And so a lot of times what happens, unfortunately, is they start off, it'll work for them up front. They'll run into a snag, it'll stop, and then they get all bent out of shape and they have a hard time moving forward with it. So it's a great principle, but there's a lot more to it than just the numbers in the gym to make it work.
Definitely. And just real quickly, I really believe that shocking your body is the best way to build muscle, right? Your body has to do new things. It has to be put under new stress. And so progressive overload that's a key way to do that. You're going to have to do that if muscle building is your goal.
And we're on that level. Let's just say that you're going through this thing and you're having success, and all of a sudden, boom, it stops. Flip the script, do your workout backwards, because literally all you're doing at that point is you're giving your body a different shock, as Marty's saying, which is true. You got to prompt your body to adapt. If it doesn't adapt, it's not getting better. So don't think that you're gonna have challenging times, but don't get to that place where you're when I say flat, meaning you're just having a hard time pushing and doing what you need to do. Go a different direction briefly, give the body a different shock, a different sensory, then go back to it. But in most cases, just so if you're using this principle, it's usually not in the gym where you're having the trouble. It's somewhere in your life.
I like that. And that goes along with the next point. We're going to touch on some nutrition. Protein being key, or protein being king. That's going to be one of the keys to your muscle building process.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Johnny, and I'll give my commentary after.
Here's the deal. We know now for a fact, it's proven through science, that excess protein will be burned for fuel. So if you really want to make sure you're building you're going to need to make sure that you have an excess of protein. Now, you can easily have an excess of protein and basically lower the fats, lower the carbs, whatever you got to do to make sure you're not getting fat in the process. But if you don't have enough protein, think about protein is like the building blocks. So I think if you're trying to build a brick wall, you need to have adequate bricks if you're going to keep building that son of a bitch. If you run out of bricks, you're not building anything anymore. So if you don't bring in adequate protein, you're running out of bricks. So my advice is to always make sure you have adequate bricks on the job site, or you have adequate protein coming through your system at all times, because it's not just eating before and after the workout. You're recovering. Your body's working on recovering the next day, sometimes the day after that. And that's where it needs to have that adequate amount of protein.
And I'll say this too. A lot of people on their journey, they'll say, you know, well, I eat a lot of protein. Start tracking it. Really start tracking how much protein you're getting, because 9 times out of 10, you're under eating the protein. You're under eating.
Yeah.
And you can't just be like, this has protein in it. So
yes.
Yeah, that's not the same as actually tracking your protein and getting the numbers that you need. So go ahead, Johnny.
If you're using peanut butter to get your protein, well, guess what? Peanut butter is a fat source primarily. You're not getting enough for your you're ODing on fat trying to get your protein. So we're talking about, when we talk about eating protein, what I'm talking about is flesh. When I think people often ask, what is protein? How do I identify it? Here, listen up closely. If it at one time could see you, you can eat it. That's protein.
Yep. All right, next one. We got one of your favorites, Johnny. I know you're going to go off on this one. Sleep and recovery being one of the keys to your muscle building process.
Oh, man. Sleep is the most anabolic factor we know as human beings. You could talk about PEDs, you can talk about eating right, you can talk about whatever you want. But sleep is the top of the food chain. How do we make better sleep? It's actually much more simple than you think. You just got to have some discipline. You got to have some nuts to actually follow through. Everybody has an alarm when they wake up. Try setting an alarm when it's time to go to bed if you're having trouble with that. And you literally have a set, because what happens, set bedtime, set wake up time, your body will catch on to that. And it's called your circadian rhythm. Once your circadian rhythm gets into place, you're going to have much more efficient sleep. And sometimes what happens, like my clients, they end up sleeping less, but they end up getting more because they're sleeping better. They're sleeping more efficient. The joke is you're sleeping faster, waking up before your alarm, feeling refreshed and ready to go. Yeah. So I cannot stress how important sleep is.
Absolutely. Body won't recover if you don't sleep. So the muscle tissue won't grow if you won't sleep, and the fat won't burn if you don't sleep. Absolutely. All right. I guess we got one more. I'm sure Keith is going to pop in here in a second. But consistency being key. And you always said, you got to fucking show up.
That's what my lifestyle tip about was today. Is that there's a fleet of people who, they're successful and they like to be successful. And they're not trying to bring other people with them. I don't like those people. I think if you're successful, it's your duty to show other people how to do it. Yep. And literally, if you just show up, meaning you do what you're supposed to do, even if you do it poorly on a day because you're not feeling well, but you show up, that showing up is going to put you ahead of 80% of people. So if you're looking to separate yourself, it's pretty goddamn easy in today's times. Fortunately for people that want to get ahead, it's easier now than ever before because we got more lazy bastards on the planet than we've ever seen. I shouldn't say lazy. It's just addicted to the cell phone. Addicted to this. Yeah, it's a combination. Yeah, they're lazy, but they're also addicted to these electronics. A lot of times they know they got to go to the gym, but they're so hooked on a video game, they burn right through the time they need or whatever, the scrolling, whatever it is. But the point is that if you show up, you're going to get ahead of 80% of people. And if you just think if you could put yourself in that top 20%, you'd probably be pretty happy with your results.
I want to add one thing that I took from my basketball coaches, and I apply that to fitness. They always say you're never either getting better or you're getting worse. You never staying the same. And as harsh as that sounds, especially with fitness, it's the truth, especially after 30 when atrophy kicks in. Your body is either getting better or getting worse. You're not staying the same. So when you think about that and you become more intentional about your goals and your meal prep and your workouts and your attitude towards it, that's going to change a lot, and it's going to help you be consistent. That's all I got.
Yeah. Marty, you're the puppy, and you're talking about atrophy kicking in at 30, and you're talking to our 40-year-old friend Flynn, and you're talking to 52-year-old fathers over here. You're talking about atrophy kicking in, Mr. fucking Marty. Johnny, like, actually, he's talking about aging and getting old for his 31-year-old body.
I train a lot of people y'all age.
Here's the crazy thing about it is that people are worried about atrophy, this, that, atrophy, that. Well, if you're eating right and you're training with some regularity, you've got to stop. I want to say it's 10 days before you'll actually start to have atrophy. So you can make mistakes and you can still make progress. The mistake that you don't want to make is to not do this shit for a couple of years, because now exactly what Marty said is happening. And if it's, what is the old saying? If you don't use it, you lose it. It's never been more true as a male gets older. I'm a perfect example for me. I've been actually focused on my thoracic twist. Every morning, I swear to God. You know why? Because I find when I'm fucking driving, if I want to look behind me, I'm like, God damn it, I can't see what's behind me. Honey, is there something on her hip? I can't fucking see. So I'm like, this is pathetic. I'm 52. I need to get my shit loosened up. So I spend 3 minutes a morning, and now I can look behind me, no problem. I wasn't doing this movement enough in my life, and I lost that movement. Isn't that fucking crazy?
I have a question.
That's fucking
So
crazy.
talk to me. What's the shit that everyone talks about with like muscle memory? Don't worry. If you don't do it for a couple years and then you come back to it, muscle memory is there, and you'll see that it's like quicker in terms of getting back to where you want to be.
No,
is that
anybody
bullshit?
who knows what they're talking about with muscle memory does not include a couple of years with that term, right? We'll leave it at that.
Oh, is that so? Is that the same thing that if you don't have sex for a couple of years and you just touch something, you just go?
I don't think it's
God, he's going deep with that one, man. Holy
Right,
shit.
the muscle memory, right, Johnny. If it's not used, all of a sudden that just happens. It's just like
I guess the question is, are you trying to develop the muscle memory so you don't end up a statistic at 5 minutes? So you actually can do the job properly? Let's talk about
Christina,
what muscle memory we're
on?
trying to what muscle memory we're trying to react.
You'll notice the dip in our audience when you did.
Is your chick gonna go on her cell phone because you're performing so poorly?
We talked about that last week, that half the nation likes to use their phones while they're having sex, is what John's referring to.
It's just so crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Lauren jumps in with a comment: muscle memory is totally a crock. Yes, there's a lot of probably crock in all of that.
Damn it.
I got to tell you guys, though, as we wrap up the segment with John and Marty, because they're going to rock and roll out of here. Marty, every time Johnny says thoracic twist, I think about our friend Rich Ingram. And I think about Rich going, how the fuck am I supposed to do that, Johnny, with my left side? Because I know Rich is just hanging out and he's going, Johnny.
He finds a way. He finds a way. That's all I can say. He's going to get down there somehow.
We were on that show and Rich was fucking laughing because I know he's trying to figure out in his head going, Jesus Christ, man, thoracic twist. For the rest of my life, Marty, all I think about thoracic twist, I think of Anderson figuring out the bidet. Figure out who's going to fucking do this. So anyways, guys, before we get out of here, Marty, come on, man. Before we get out of here.
That is just
and everybody does it. They didn't see that episode, Keith.
Let's real quick. There's been too much talk of, do people know what we're talking about because it was a past episode? We're unapologetically being ourselves. We don't need to worry about it.
You're right.
That's why they're here.
I think Keith could have provided some more context.
Why are you coming at us, John?
I think Keith could have provided a little more context. I wasn't telling Keith not to say it at all. That's all.
That's all. Little context.
Or just listen.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina.
With your thoracic twist there. That's what Johnny talks about. And what's that? I don't know. Yeah. Anyways.
Stop doing that.
All right. So listen, let's get the hell.
What was that?
You look like a
was you trying to be the little the dealership thing?
Yeah.
The dealership.
That's Hulk Hogan dancing on stage last night at the MAGA convention.
Oh my God,
it was creepy, man. If you guys, was creepy.
How old is Hulk Hogan now?
94, I think.
104.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yo, he's a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend, but he was looking like a fool last night, Marty. I gotta tell you,
when I was a kid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm not a kid anymore.
He makes John look like a child. He's like,
he does.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, quickly go around the table because I know you guys got to rock and roll. Highlights, Marty. Highlight today, pal.
Highlight today. I forgot his name. Kyle's story is crazy, man.
Yeah.
And I think starting off at Uber in their early days, that's just a freaking interesting story. So I got a lot of respect for that. Yep.
Awesome. Johnny, highlights today, brother.
I think I just like the fact that we're just every show we're given some really good nuggets for people to run with, because that's little actionable things. Because that's all we really want to do is give people a reason to tune in and take, even if it's just a little something to make their day better. And I feel every day we're doing that. And to me, that's what this whole thing is about. And I don't feel like we've missed that once in our whole, you go back, I think we're hitting it every day. And that's what I'm most proud of, is that we're giving simple, actionable steps for people to make their lives better.
Awesome. I'm working hard on every single day, nation, to give you guys things you guys can hang on to, hold on to, and take throughout your day. Coach, highlight for you today before we walk out, John and Marty, and you and I pivot to our community spotlight.
My highlight hasn't happened yet, so you have to do it in order for it to be my highlight, which is where the fuck are my Scottish bagpipes?
Oh, did I forget the Scottish bagpipes? Oh, I did. No, I think
he did. No, he played it. He played it very briefly.
Yeah,
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. Oh, I was so focused.
Brief.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I didn't hear it either, Christina, so you're not the only one.
I thought I heard it, Keith.
Yeah, so Jimmy, did we play them? I thought I played them during Reloaded beginning. Maybe I didn't turn them up.
I'm not saying we didn't. I just didn't hear it.
And you're probably right, but we didn't get the dance.
There you go. So to those of you that are missing the Scottish bagpipes and Uncle Keith dancing, we're closing off the show today. Yeah, that's exactly how it's going to work.
Christina, real quick, when it's just you and Keith, do you miss me and Johnny?
Oh, my God. So much.
That's quite a question. I love it.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Sometimes I'm just looking for y'all like, oh,
that
God,
makes me feel loved. Thank you, Christina. That makes me feel loved. I like that.
All right, Jimmy, press the button. Let's go say goodbye to Marty and John. Marty and John, I'll talk to you guys a little later today. Marty, I'll catch up with you later, pal. And you guys have an awesome one. Johnny, are you sticking around the Baja today, or are you getting in the car, start driving north?
We're here for 2 more days.
Nice.
So we're actually traveling on Wednesday.
Nice. Listen, you go have an awesome day today. Go get a good workout in your outdoor gym. Nice picture you sent me yesterday. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Send me the picture.
I didn't get that picture. What the fuck?
He was the only one that asked.
I asked for it.
I'll drop it into the group. Drop it into the group.
Drop it in the group chat.
Listen, I don't have time to be sending pictures around unless someone wants to see something.
You're sending it to one person. You can send it to the other 2 people.
We're a team.
Easily.
We're a team,
Johnny.
True story. True story. All right.
Well, you know what? I suppose it would have been just as easy to put it in the group.
We're going to regret it.
It would have been out of context. It would have been out of context.
You know what, Tina? John didn't play team sports. Wrestling and bodybuilding, he's every man for himself. He's not used to having teammates. So this is new for John. This is new.
We'll bring you along,
it's okay, John. We're gonna teach you how to be a teammate, John. It's all good.
Teach me, baby. Teach me. Teach me. I love it.
All right, y'all.
All right, you guys have a good one, okay? We'll catch you guys a little later. Awesome.
Right
Awesome. All right, Jimmy, Christina, let's keep it rocking and rolling here today. We're going to get into the Creator Spotlight, the community segment of the show here. And Felix, I'm dropping this for you when you're cutting the show later, my friend. We're going to go with this here. We do this part of the show and this segment of the show is getting bigger and better. Coming up later this week, I think it's this week, Tina. We got Mario Hernandez joining us for our first special enhanced increased community corner spotlight and spotlighting the big mornings in the lab spotlight and other human beings. But today we are going to feature a master of sales strategy. Now, this creator has helped consultants, solopreneurs generate not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 10. Nope. Generate $15 million in client revenue, Flynn, over the past 3 years by flipping pancakes. Kidding. By flipping outdated sales tactics on their head. Yeah. This person is a mentor for business freedom. There's the hint, nation. She's all about helping founders and coaches build businesses they actually love. Think about that, Christina? Building a business that somebody loves instead of something they don't love. Oh, Jesus.
Kyle loves his business. Kyle loves his business.
I love this business without the stress, the burnout, or the hard sell tactics that hold most people back, frankly. This creator is a trailblazer in social selling. She's leading the way in leveraging LinkedIn content and connection strategies, showing her community how to create systems. Nation, we know systems drive results. This creator is doing that. So Tina, Jimmy, as I pivot my attention to this camera over here, today's creator spotlight is somebody who we are going to celebrate on this morning's Mornings in the Lab for Monday, October 28th, 3 days in advance of the National Peanut Butter and Chocolate Day. It is our friend, the Creator Spotlight. Ring, ding, 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 ding. Exactly. It is Charlotte Lloyd. Yes. So Charlotte is the founder of the Client Acquisition Club. No shit, Sherlock. She's helping consultants and coaches sign clients with sales and content strategies on and off LinkedIn. 300 plus clients, 15 million bucks in revenue for founders with sales strategies in 3 years. She's a speaker, and her name is Charlotte. Christina, why are we celebrating Charlotte Lloyd as today's Creator Spotlight for Mornings in the Lab?
Here's the thing. I think that a lot of us struggle with this idea of sales. And we have these ideas that we tell ourselves, I'm not good at sales. Me being one of them. Absolutely. I'm not good at sales. I don't like sales. They're icky. I think what Charlotte does is a really approachable way to look at sales and say, one, fuck that. Stop telling yourself that. Anyone can be good at sales. And two, then educating people on the exact steps to allow them to do it in a way that's focused on social selling. So the tactics of old are gone. She's been in sales for 20 plus years. So she knows what that looks like. She knows what we're referring to when it feels icky. And she's able to say, this is a different way to do it. It's proven. I've done it with my clients as well. And she's able to actually give you step-by-step instructions on how you can implement this in your business too, which I think is so critical because so many of us, if you're not selling, you don't have a business, period. If you're not selling yourself, if you're not selling your value add, if you're not selling your market differentiation, if you're not selling an offer that people actually need, you don't have a business. And I think Charlotte has done an unbelievable job. It's been fun to watch her grow just over the last year since I've been more engaged on LinkedIn. And see, I've really benefited from her content and learning how to shift the mindset, but also shift the tactics to be able to sell more and feel like your offer is bringing real value to people.
So Nation, I invite you to go follow Charlotte Lloyd on LinkedIn. She's out there helping consultants and founders grow smarter, close bigger, and build businesses that actually work for them. Check out her latest posts for strategies you can use right now. Go find her on LinkedIn to land more clients and create more freedom. And Charlotte, we want to hear from you next. So if you have a creator in your orbit, Charlotte, you're like, yeah, I want to go celebrate that person over there. Come knock on my door. Come knock on Coach Flynn's door so we can celebrate that human on our upcoming Creator Spotlight. Charlotte Lloyd. All right.
Hey.
I love this segment. I love it. What I love about the segment is that we create the post-show content, we flip it up on LinkedIn, and we traditionally surprise somebody. And then they usually get a notification and then like, oh my God. And like Friday, was it Dan Hong? Was it Dan Hong on Friday?
No, it was Jacob Hong.
Jacob Hong. He was like, so he leaned into on Friday. He messaged me on Friday, like, how can I be on the show? And that dude's got a great mission. So this is a fun segment. And of course, on Wednesday with Mario joining, we're going to do some additional things with the community corner.
Sarmiento.
Yeah, Charles as well. Yeah, always a lot of fun. And then today's guest, Kyle Thomas, we met Kyle on a previous Creator Spotlight as well. Okay, so the final number of minutes of the show here, whatever, 10 minutes or so, or give or take a little bit. We're going to get into the business and branding segment with Keith and Christina.
Keith and Christina.
Yeah, Keith and Christina. Yeah, Keith and Christina here at Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends. We're going to talk the discipline factor. Of course, our morning show is all about giving you guys things to consider around habits and creating discipline. You heard Johnny, motivation's fleeting. Motivation is going to get you nowhere. Discipline will get you everywhere. Discipline puts you into a situation, then you just act. Motivation, you got to think about it. You're like, oh, fuck, I got to get started. No, just you create discipline. Small habits will drive business success. Let's get into number one, Christina. Part one, the common challenges and how to overcome them. Let's lean into this topic, Christina Flynn.
Yeah, so I think for me, when I was thinking about this topic, and I often do, quite frankly, with this segment, I was thinking about myself and the shit that I struggle with.
Yes.
And saying, okay, I have these opportunities to talk to somebody who has been through the shit, who has built a business, learned a lot of lessons. So how can I learn from you in this moment while also giving some value to our audience? I know we talked about discipline a lot. And I know that it's critical and that it's important. But I know, like me, a lot of people are like, I don't know how to fucking do it. I can't figure it out. And the ways in which I know I've been challenged and other people have been challenged around me is a couple of things. First, this idea of like we overcommit. So you can be disciplined, but if you overcommit yourself, it's not going to matter because you're going to put way too much energy into things that don't matter. And you're not going to be able to step back to say, I'm going to control this. Because when you overcommit, you give everyone else the ability to control your day. Talk to me a little bit about that and how you've seen people struggle with that idea of overcommitment from a business perspective.
Overcommitment is the easiest thing to do. And as an entrepreneur, you've worked with me now for a few months. I just tend to say yes to everything. And you got to learn. And as we talk about November, Christina, more often than not, as I continue to grow as a leader and as a business leader, you probably got to say no to more things than you're actually saying yes to. I know that's so fucking cliche and so common. I had this conversation with Lauren, my partner, yesterday. There's only 24 hours in a day. And John and Marty talk about the power of sleep. So if right off the bat, you got to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, you don't got 24. You only got maybe 16. If you got a wife, you got children, you got life commitments. Now, Christina, how much time do you actually have to get work done, to pay the bills and move forward? And I think that's what we often as humans get, and me too, get confused with. Oh, I got all the time in the world. No, you actually don't. So you tend to saying yes, you commit, and the next thing you're not committing to anything, or you're.
Why do you think we're actually committing? What is that drive behind?
Because we believe we can achieve it. Because we believe we can, and I think we lose context of time, and I think we believe that we can just do it. And I know I'm the first person to admit that, Christina. And I know it was, again, I talked about earlier on the show where a few weeks back I was trying to do everything, and like, no, Keith, just get the one thing done. I'm like, yeah, right. Let's get
the one. So much easier to tell you that than to do it myself.
It is true, right?
Because I struggle because to me, the biggest reason why I overcommit, I think there's two. One, there's this idea of potential opportunity. So sometimes I think I get messed up with show up, like we talk about a lot of times, and not overcommitting. So show up to me has always been, you just got to be there. You just got to be there. You just got to be there because there's a potential opportunity there, which has led to me overcommitting. So that's the balance that I've really struggled with. Those two don't really exist independently in my mind. And I don't know how to rectify that.
Interesting. I can see that. I can see how you say that. So showing up to you, I want to repeat this because this is fascinating to me. So showing up to you equates to committing. So when you show up, you feel like you have to commit. And then when
show up is someone presents you with an opportunity, you're there. Because there's always something good that happens from showing up. If someone says, hey, I need you to speak here. Hey, I need to do this interview with you. Hey, what about a panel discussion? So I got to show up. I got to be there.
Then I'll give you something that I've learned along the way. Then maybe this relates back to something that I've talked with you and even Melissa about lately. It's just the idea of artificial urgency. So committing and then creating urgency around that are also two different things. So commit to something and then ask yourself, how urgent is it actually? And is it hitting your values? So yeah, I think you always want to lead with, yes, I'm coming to speak for you. I'm coming to the conference, I'm showing up. But then it's to take some time to ask yourself, is it urgent? Is it urgent in the moment? Is it important for me along the way? I think about even myself here in the last week or 10 days. We're obviously continuing to develop the show and continue to tweak the show, iterate the show and iterate. While at the same time, I'm looking to launch the League of Business Athletes, our paid offering here in the coming days or weeks. I've had to really focus my commitment, Christina, on this. And it just goes back to discipline, I think. And I know it's so cliche, but it's just learning that I got to put this aside so that I can commit to this, not overcommit to both. So me as a leader saying to you as a colleague, I'm actually not paying attention to this right now because I got to pay attention to this. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. And I think probably the struggle comes from maybe a couple of things. One, not understanding what you're focusing on because you're not understanding what is the priority in the business at that moment. And two, fuck it. I lost my second point. Let's just go with one.
So when I think about bootstrapping a business and building a business, I think about it in the same way when you build a house. So when you build a house, you don't build just one room. Okay, I'm done the bathroom. All right, let's go build the rest of the house. You build the house collectively. Spend some time building the bathroom, you spend some time over in the kitchen, and the house comes together at once, right? So you think about overcommitting to building a house. I'm going to get the whole house done next week. No, you're not. It's not going to work that way. Right. So I think the same way about when I'm building this business here, right? It's just you're building a number of things along the way, especially when you're bootstrapping it and you're trying to manage your expenses appropriately. You're building a bunch of things along the way. You're probably overcommitting, but then along the way, you're pulling levers, more levers and less levers to focus on finishing things. If I think about myself, right? I've been building the league for a number of months. I've been building the bathroom, building the kitchen, building the living room. Right. But now I'm at a point where it's now time to start finishing things and start opening the doors.
How do you know when to pull the lever though? And what lever to pull?
Great question. Experience and focus. So I got a big goal. So great question, actually. In the old days, I think that when you have SMART goals, you have no ability to be flexible. You're like, no, I got to stay on this. I got to get this done. I got to get the bathroom done by this date. Yeah, but the rest of the house is suffering. No, but Christina, you got to get the bathroom done. No, how about we pull some more lists and less lists so we can get the whole house done? So from my POV, it's okay. By the end of the year, I had a big goal I wanted to get done. And then along the way, I've kept focus on that goal and I've pulled levers along the way. Look at the month, it's November now. I got 2 months left to get this goal done. So I make sure that I'm pulling the right levers along the way so I can accomplish my major goal at hand. Does that make sense?
It does. I think the part to me that I'll put on the table is that where my head's going. A house has a pretty clear structure. Whether you're building a house that's 8,000 square feet or 800 square feet, maybe not that big of a difference, but there's a pretty clear structure to it. I think where a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, where I have struggled, is that when it comes to a business, maybe there is a clear structure, I'm not sure, but that is less defined for me. Yes. I don't have as much. We talked today about mastering your mornings for building a successful blueprint. What's the blueprint?
So, you know what? So I'm glad you raised that. So, you know, for me, actually, and this is great. And this is where it equates back to being the business athlete and being back into the gym. There's a lot of ambiguity in the gym. You have to trust the process. You have to trust the progress. You have to embrace the journey of increasing 2.5 pounds this day, a pound that day, 3 pounds that day. You're not just going to go from 200 to 300 pounds. There's a graduate. You got to enjoy the process. To me, that is identical to building business. Finding structure in that physical fitness environment of the gym, whether it's in your gym, whether it's in your head, but creating that structure, which then allows you to get into a business where there's much ambiguity, less structure, so that you can progress to the place you want to get to. So that to me is why I always say that if you want to start a business or get into a business, go and get in the gym first. Go run a marathon, go do something in the gym so you can learn about enjoying the journey. You can learn to embrace the ambiguity of that. A lot of ambiguity happens in the gym, right? It's like, okay, did I hit it? Did I not hit it? Did I get a full rep? Did I not get a full rep? It's like business. So it's embracing that ambiguity and learning to lean into that and accept that. That's what I find anyways.
Yeah. I struggle with the ambiguity part for sure. And it's definitely the control or the desire to want to have the perception of control. That's probably more likely. And then the fact that I am really good at setting a plan. I'm really good at setting an initial structure. That's great. Awesome. When things happen in business, which they do quite often, where something comes into play, all of a sudden that plan, for the most part, feels like it just crumbles. And so how do you then make revisions without like shoving the entire plan aside? And how do you work with that ambiguity as it comes up to still be able to move that plan forward, but make the revisions necessary?
That's why I think the biggest piece of incorrect advice offered by educational business institutions is go do a business plan.
Really? Yeah. It never fucking matters.
It doesn't matter. Don't do a business plan. There's the soundbite. Stop your business plan. Get moving, as John Anderson would say, create momentum and figure shit out along the way. Iterate, iterate, iterate. Or go run a marathon, go climb a mountain, do something physical, get into your head during that experience, and then go put a loose structure and pace for a business plan. But to sit down for 2, 3, 4 months and put a plan together and say, okay, I'm going to go start it. The day you start it is the day it's going to change. You just wasted 4 fucking months of your life.
Yeah.
It's true. So let's leave it there. Let's absolutely leave it there. If you're starting a business plan, stop it and embrace the ambiguity of the journey. There's your message for today's business and branding segment.
Don't make a business plan. Don't make a logo. Don't make a website.
Yeah, it's true. You know what?
All the things we're taught, we're like, don't fucking do that. That's a waste of time.
But it is, though, because that's not real life. I'm telling you, go and sign up to run a marathon. And it's not about the marathon, Christina, but it's committing to the training to accomplish it. I don't care if you run it in fucking 4 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours. Go and put the training in to say, okay, I'm going to go run for 4 hours now or 3 hours now. Or go and do a physical fitness competition. Go climb a mountain and recognize that. And I'm not saying go climb Everest. Go fucking do Kilimanjaro. You just got to walk. And then recognize when you get to the top, you're only halfway. And then when you get done all that, then ask yourself if you want to start a business. I can't emphasize that enough. I'm so bullish on that. And that's why I started the lab, because it starts there. Anyways.
Just know, if you're going to climb Kilimanjaro, you have to shit in a bucket on your way up. I learned that from Keith last week.
It's true. Yeah. And if you want to start a relationship.
I've just never thought of it.
And if you want to start a relationship with a new partner, go climb Kilimanjaro and do it with your partner. Yeah, Keith and Lauren, brand new relationship, climbing a mountain together and shitting in a paint can together. It's like, hey, honey. Yeah.
My new relationship with Aaron involved us going to the London Olympics together.
Oh.
Yeah, which was like my dream. So that was a lot easier than shitting in a bucket next to each other.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Before I say goodbye, though, November is coming up around the corner, nation. No month is around the corner. So I invite you to say no to something so you can say yes to a lot more. Where did this come from? Last October 31st, National Peanut Butter and Chocolate Day. On November 1st, I woke up feeling super fat. Yeah, super fat, because I was crushing too many of these. So what I did was I said, no, I taped in my peanut butter jar and I adopted the month of November, and we're doing it again. So right now you're hearing me. Think about what you want to say no to. Maybe you want to start today, get a head start on November. And then what we also coming, nation, is a brand new, Christina talked about selling. I've been working on this for a while and I'm just going to swear about it. I can't fucking wait to start selling this. The League of Business Athletes, men, I'm looking for 10 of you. I'm looking for one of you, 2 of you. Bring a buddy. Going to change your life. 100 days going to change your life. True fucking story. Tina, let's get out of here. Jimmy, thanks, brother. Marty, Johnny, Nation, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends, the only morning show to get your day started. I am rapping like the rap god right now. See you guys later. Bye.
Jesus.